How do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but
you know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games too, right?
Yeah, you're studying, not playing games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
all right then.
How does he do it? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Arcade. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and we are, in fact, on Rumble. I am using Rumble Studios' new feature. It's basically like allows you to use a direct ingest RTMP so that you can just use it with your streaming software, like my Open Broadcaster software, or maybe you have Streamlabs or something like that,
or EVMux.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, those other EVMux. Yeah. So, and it seems to be working well. The only issue seemed to be that it would not play well with YouTube, but I got it because I do backups on top of backups. I have it running on YouTube Vertical, and I have an additional stream going out on YouTube. And you can also be watching us on X now. So not only am I on Rumble, but I'm also streaming to X. And I hope that if you are watching on X, you put a comment in the chat, because I am observing the chat and it will display on the screen. So give us your comments. I like X and I'm paying for X, so I want people to use X. I think that it's got a lot of potential, just like Rumble does. Yeah, so welcome
I'd
to
say
the show.
even possibly Kick, because Toasty.
Yeah, I'm gonna add. I did have a Kick. Yeah, I used to have a Kick account. Yeah. I still do, but I'm gonna start streaming to Kick as well. I'm just trying to. Let me just check here.
Oh yeah, well, we're in some interesting days, to say the least, as it applies to all this kind of interweb stuff. People are starting to realize that YouTube is an exploitation ghetto, as I like to refer to it as, and we do our Fuck YouTube Fridays over on on Toasty's channel, because of that, because of her getting demonetized and all the silly bullshit. But yeah, it's good to have a lot of different avenues and options, and I'm glad that Rumble's kind of getting its act together to make some of the stuff
make sure everything's working okay.
But yeah, while Brian's getting everything all set up, thank you everybody for joining us here for another episode of the Week in Culture. Hail all, and hola. It's yes, I think we got some stuff to talk about today. I have some of it actually good
stuff. I have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so, I got a copy of Stellar Blade gifted to me, and it's running my Steam Deck. Great.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah, Furious Dan, he was giving out gifts. He went to give a copy to Discuss thing, but he's in the Balkans, and because Sony went and put the restrictions on it, he couldn't send the game to him, because that's one of the 130 countries that Sony cock-blocked Shift Up from being able to sell their wares to. And so I jokingly just said to him, "It's like, Dan, you're just giving out free copies here. You could always, maybe send one to the guy who kind of helped you, get into streaming. I'm, whatever." And I was just joking, just giving him a hard time. He fucking went and did it. So yeah, I've got a copy of Stellar Blade for my Steam Deck now. So
nice, man, nice. Yeah. Well, yes, we are going to be talking about Stellar Blade as it has been released on PC. I have a lot of things that I'm actually going to be going through. So I guess we should not waste any time and jump right into it. But before we do, I'm going to ask that you guys please like the video wherever you're watching it, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, or X. And soon I will be streaming to Kick as well. I do have the option of doing that. I just have to get my account information back up, which I was trying to do, but yeah, it didn't work out. So
I did post a link over there on X. I added you in it. So if anybody wants to repost on that post on X, that'd be wonderful. If you have a Rumble account, you can also repost things that you're watching onto your own accounts as well. So if you could do that, just get the word out. The show thrives on having more people actually taking the time to put their eyes on it, and that's the way to actually get growth. So
yes,
donations are always nice, but quite honestly, people giving word of mouth, support is in many ways more beneficial in the long term.
So yeah, show us some love by giving us a like button, and also give us some pats to JoJo who is being a good boy today. And shout out to Robert Johnson, Norwegian Black Templar, and Toasty with the Mosty 69 in the chat. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get into today's story. So first is the release of Stellar Blade on PC. And it was released on Steam and the Epic Games Store. Following its PlayStation 5 debut in April of 2024, developed by Shift Up and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, the port includes the base game, all the prior updates, all the DLCs like the Nier Automata and Nike Goddess of Victory crossovers, adding new cosmetics, boss battles, and mini games. It supports NVIDIA DLSS4, AMD FSR3, ultra-wide displays, unlocked frame rates, and DualSense features with Japanese and Chinese voiceovers.
Yep.
The good of this is the PC port is highly optimized, running smoothly on various hardware, including low-end PCs and the Steam Deck, with stable performance at 1440p and above 120 frames per second on high-end systems. Critics praise the stunning visuals. Oh, I'll just finish the sentence and then you can tell me. Enhanced by high-resolution textures and ultra-wide support and fluid combat, which feels more responsive than the PlayStation 5 version due to higher frame rates. Okay, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I can definitely attest to the Steam Deck. I got it, like I said, and I went and I played through the tutorial part of the game. You do that first boss fight, and it black screened and faulted out, and then and then I checked it again, had to redo the fight. Black screen faulted out, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll give it a day. And at that time, I rebooted my Steam Deck and whatnot. I'm playing in desktop mode, and I got it hooked up to my 4K monitor, and it actually is showing the game on for me when I play it. It's running at 4K, 60 frames a second. And after that initial kind of hiccup for the day, and it might have just been a need of just rebooting the system, whatever. I was playing it last night for a good hour or so, just kind of like learning controls, getting a little bit more comfortable with it. Yeah, seems to be nice. Seems to be really good. The FSR is integrated right into the game itself, so you know. And the first night I was playing it, it kind of seemed to be a little herky jerky, but you know, last night when I was doing it, it seemed fluid enough. So yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile purchase if you got a Steam Deck. Everybody knows how much I love Steam Deck. Yeah, totally. It's a good game.
I played so this month, if you like to watch game streams and if you like pretty girls, if you like pretty girls and game streams, I've been doing the theme for June is Goon in June, and I played Stellar Blade. I think it was like on Tuesday or Wednesday, and I only played the demo, but I have to say that I really liked it. I thought it was, because I didn't really look at any of the playthroughs or anything like that.
Right.
I usually try to avoid getting overexposed to stuff so that I can go in about as fresh as possible. And I will say that it is way more than just eye candy. I know everybody talks about the eye candy in that game. And of course, the mainstream gaming media is absolutely obsessed with the eye candy because it's the one thing that drives them up the wall. I think IGN reviewed the PC version and gave it a 7. Because they said the characters don't have any depth, but they could not
be more wrong.
No, it's not that. It's because I don't know. I hadn't played the story.
I'm saying
they couldn't give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's a game, so the gameplay comes first. But they were focused on whatever they could go after to sort of
superficial details. Right.
Yeah. Well, they were like, oh, the characters lack depth, and it's like, well. But then they were like, but the game is a lot of fun to play. Like they couldn't help but admit that the game part of the game was the good part, right?
Right.
And I was like, at first I thought things were a little bit slow, but then as you play the game more and you unlock more of the features and the combat, it really starts to click. And then you're like, oh, this is actually really, really deep, and I like it a lot. It's one of those games that is, unfortunately, people call it a Souls-like. I hate that categorization.
Honestly, it reminded me more of like old school Devil May Cry.
Yes, exactly.
Bayonetta. And so if people are going to say that the game's vapid and lacks depth and it's shallow, it's got as much characterization as either of those games, and it does exactly what it needs to do. You don't need to you know, like there's such a thing as kind of like getting too into your own idiosyncratic bullshit that just kind of like is off-putting. Like with games,
Yeah.
the immersive aspect is on the flow state. You know, if you go and make it all about
Mhm.
messaging or this or that and everything like that, you can undermine, you know, the whole point of the game is to actually game. And, you know, and for those people that are afraid of doing that, they do have a journalist mode. It's called story mode, right? So if you just want to
Yeah.
sit there passively take it in, yeah, they've accounted for you, but the normal aspect of the game is, you know, it's about the gaming. And if you can get in that flow state, you can kind of get into that being the thing that drives the character forward more so than some melodramatic bullshit. Like it's fucking alien invasion story. What more do you need?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. So and you know, because of all of the inclusion, because we are talking about a game that's about a year old now.
Mhm.
What all the DLCs, 25 costumes, and a new boss battle adds a lot of replay value to the game, which I think is like the one of the primary things is that I enjoy as well, is I'm able to play even the demo. I can play the demo over and over again, and you know, try to like maybe get through it without getting hit. And this is how you know you have something good, is that it has replay value. It's not really about like how long the game is, but how
How
playable
challenging
the
it
game
is. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it got not overall 92% positive reviews on Steam. So overwhelmingly positive. And the sales are really high as well, which we could look at later on
Mhm. When
when
you're
we
checking out
do the
cake.
when we do the cake section at the end, if there's time. And because Stellar Blade's been selling like crazy, and of course the mods have started to come out as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it's specifically meant for her, but someone had posted something earlier in the week about a toasty mod that's got like a bald
oh,
a
that's
bald
funny.
mod.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
A
not sure if
bald
it's
head.
actually toasty. Yeah, I need to go and double check and see if it's actually somebody that watches her channel, and if it is, then
Some
I
people
will,
are just into bald chicks, though.
oh yeah,
It could
yeah.
just be, you know,
It could just be, but it actually like because I looked at it briefly, I just kind of saw it in passing. It actually looked a lot like toasty, so I do need to double check and look into that.
So yeah, so then for the most part, you know, when like I said, the complaints were from legacy game reviewers and activists online that basically are seething at the fact that games that they like Concord and The Last of Us, did not do well, whereas Stellar Blade, which totally objectifies women, did really well. So they basically accuse it of being shallow, you know, in terms of the story and characters, and that it's just. I mean, I remember the very, very, very early images of the game, like way before it ever came out.
Right.
And they just all they had was like the Eve model and a little bit of like alpha footage, right? And it was obviously like, you know, damn, she's like a very attractive character.
Mhm.
And there were guys calling it childish and pornographic and pedophilic and all this other shit. But of course, those are the dudes that usually get accused of being sex pests. So
Right.
but this is not without its issues. I gifted a sub, but it seems like it isn't showing. Oh, well, thank you for gifting the sub. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm supposed to do on my end, but I appreciate it, Toasty. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, we'll know if it works when the next person comes in, says they got a sub gifted from Toasty, if nothing else.
Who did you gift it to? Was it? Oh, is it whoever comes in next?
Yeah. That's the way that it works in Rumble. Next person comes in.
Rumble had been acting up. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, they'll get it together. They're kind of a small upstart company compared to YouTube, right? So
yeah.
All right.
It's kind of like a mom and pop shop compared to fucking the you know, the infrastructure of Walmart.
Yeah. So the one problem that Stellar Blade has is basically the same problem that Helldivers 2 has, which is not anything to do with the game or its developers, but it's basically the region locked. The port face controversy for the PC port over its region locked Steam availability in some countries, frustrating potential players. For PlayStation 5 owners, the lack of a discounted upgrade path to the complete edition priced at $80 drew criticism, especially for those who already invested heavily in the game console version. Some fans expressed reluctance to repay for new content due to the grind for skins and upgrades. Overall, the PC version is celebrated for its technical excellence and added content, but inherits the base game's narrative weaknesses, according to the media, and faces minor accessibility issues. So there are some region locked issues with it. But again, I wouldn't blame Shift Up for this. I think that they would like to, just like Arrowhead, they would like to be able to reach as many people as possible. And frankly, it was probably only Sony that could have given them the
leeway,
access to the access to make the game in the first place. But if they're gonna probably be announcing a Stellar Blade 2 or some other spiritual sequel in the future, and maybe they'll do what From Software did and just sort of like, go strike out on their own so they can reach more people.
That now as well. I think, and so I think,
Arrowhead's next project is not going to be associated with Sony. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think in situations like this, that's what we need to focus on, is that put the pressure on these top-down control state corporations that are trying to stifle actual good independent game development. I understand, being able to say, oh, we need to have like a year's time of exclusivity or what the hell ever. But, ultimately we've learned in the past week or so, the new ROG Ally Xbox edition, PC has won the console war. And if Sony's going to sit here and try to actually, because they're already in the cuck chair going forward, so to speak. And so if they want to be able to actually have a wider market share, they're going to have to fucking bend on their bullshit where they're trying to make people beholden to all their EULA insanity. And they're just going to have to start making things to where it's like, you can have access to this game. If we have our exclusivity period, like 6 months to a year, like they did with this, cool. But once you open that up, you really need to open it up, because you're only shortchanging yourself. And you want to have your little close-knit network on PSN on PlayStation hardware. Fine, all well and good. But if people are coming at this and you're just at that point in time kind of being a third-party publisher yourself for other people's hardware, stop locking people down. Fuck Sony.
Yeah, well, the landscape is changing really, really fast, and I don't think that like console sales, maybe aside from the Switch too, only because Nintendo has like this way of like cornering the market on its specific way of approaching gaming. But outside of that, like Sony and Microsoft are basically like they're treading water.
Yeah, Microsoft.
I don't think their models are sustainable. I understand Microsoft is trying to lean really, really hard into. Sorry, no, I think I hear, and Sony might be doing this too, but I know Microsoft is going to be leaning really hard into what is it, like streaming games, like game streaming,
right?
GeForce Now type stuff.
Yeah, they're trying to cater themselves into being a over-the-top streaming service, utilizing any hardware available. Everything's Xbox. So what they're basically working on, this ROG Ally, I don't know if you saw stuff on that this past week or so, but ultimately they're trying to make a very open access environment for an operating system that will make their games more accessible, while also at the same time still giving you a free open availability to use games from obviously Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store, all these kinds of things. And so they're just trying to give people a good framework and to utilize a Windows-based operating system to do these things in. But to be quite honest, this is, again, everybody should be thankful for Valve, because Valve has ultimately won the console wars, because Windows is making these changes to their OS to try to compete with Steam OS. And so I hope that Valve, in turn, because I know there's ways that you can mod to get access to games that are on GOG and on Epic and whatnot, and get them to play on your Steam Deck. I have, had varying degrees of success with it. So that would be my hope, is that Valve actually goes and sees what what Microsoft is doing to try to give that more open access. And since Steam itself is such an open source kind of platform, do the same thing. Just do the same thing. Just actually make it a first party focus. And because people already have huge Steam backlog libraries and constantly having sales every week where you can get games for under good legitimate kick-ass games for under $10, $5 even, maybe $20. Like right now, you
Yeah.
can get like the whole Metal Gear Solid collection for under $100, and I'm including Metal Gear Rising and like all the numbered versions, everything like that. So
Mhm.
I think that even if they have access to those other game platforms, people aren't going to hold it against them. Stop playing their Steam games on a Steam Deck. Yeah, but looks like we
Yeah.
actually, speaking of
Yeah,
things like that.
I got a Rumble rant. Thank you, Xeranx, for $5, and he says this is why trade via Davy Jones's locker is considered preferable. Bypass region locks and get everything. Have you seen this? The post regarding the porn game versus the approved non-offensive titles. When you say porn game, are you talking about Stellar Blade? I've seen lots of memes going around that have sort of made the comparison. There was one I might try to bring it up actually and look it up because another game that I demoed for Goon and June, I played through the last game I think it was a game called Vindictus Defying Fate, which I also demoed way back when they had a pre-alpha or like an alpha build where essentially was just showing off the combat system and a couple of the characters. And now there's a like a further along, but I think it's still in alpha right now. And there's 4 characters, and I played through one of the female characters. And there's like sliders and stuff to customize your character. And somebody made a meme where they compared the customization for Vindictus Defying Fate
compared to
versus Veilguard. Yes, Veilguard. And holy shit, like it's not, I didn't know. I mean, I knew how bad Veilguard was, but when you put them side by side, it's absolutely insane. Xeranx also gives us $2 and says, also, I posted on X about Joe Barbera earlier. Didn't know if you saw it.
Yes.
Yeah, I replied to your comment. I said that I watched that video. I watched part of it, and then I went and watched the original. And I'm actually going to show the clip in question right here because I knew something about that because I had talked about it before when I spoke to another friend of mine who worked in animation.
Yep.
Luke, what's up? And if he's watching, I don't think he does watch me, but yeah, if you're watching, Luke, shout out to you. But we're gonna get to that one later. It's a story that I'm gonna cover. So, so Vindictus Defying Fate is a free. Check it out. It's awesome. I thought I was finished with the demo, and I'm not, because I went back in just to like see if I can like pick a different character and maybe try another combat system in there, because all of the characters have a different combat system for each one. And it continued for my game left off, and there was still stuff to do. So I may do another stream of Vindictus Defying Fate for Goon and June, because I kind of want to see it all the way through. And that's probably so far one of the gooniest games that I've run. So after Galgun too, which I'm going to get to, that's a great game. You should definitely check that out. Hello, Lightfair. Welcome to the stream. All right, so let's get into the next story. This is breaking news, very, very recently announced, which I think is pretty awesome. So I wanted to share it right off the bat so that I can be one of the first people. So on June 12th, which was on Thursday, so this is not super new, it was like the day before yesterday, Konami announced during its Press Start Live showcase that they're working on a remake for the original 1999 Silent Hill. So the first Silent Hill game is getting a remake. Now, I know everybody gushes about Silent Hill 2 and all, like how, the story is and everything, but there would be no Silent Hill 2 if it weren't for Silent Hill. So they're going to remake the original Silent Hill, and it's going to be developed by Bloober Team, the studio that was behind the critically acclaimed Silent Hill 2 remake. Now, some people didn't like the Silent Hill 2 remake. I don't really know. I never played it. But they're doing a remake of the original Silent Hill, and apparently Konami has a decent amount of faith in the Bloober Team to do the remake for the original Silent Hill. Maybe they'll even do a remake of the third one, which I think is
doing like a really good. I'd say Konami's doing like a really good redemption arc these days. I know that like remakes and whatnot aren't necessarily what people's preferences are initially, but considering where Konami was 10 to 5 years ago, where they were just we're a pachinko manufacturing company now, basically we're just using all our and they gave into like all these stupid just flights of fancy to the point that Hideo Kojima left, and Metal Gear kind of like went through its kind of whatever. If all I can get from, because if a story is actually legitimately good and you're true and faithful to it, I'm not completely opposed to remasters of things that are decades old. That would be kind of nice to see in a good with a new coat of paint, as long as it doesn't get infiltrated with a whole bunch of modernism and shit like that. Because yeah, like the first first Silent Hill game, fan fucking tastic. So to actually be able to see
Scared the
that,
shit out of me. I remember playing the first Silent Hill game, and I was it was like me and my friends, we'd all like get together on the weekends, have pizza, hang out, and maybe try some new games. And so I had just gotten Silent Hill 1, and I remember all of us in the school level. That was like when I got to the school level, and I think the very first Silent Hill boss is in the, I don't know, it's like a engine room or whatever, like a lower level of the school. And there's like the big cockroaches, but then there was like that boss monster, and it like opens its mouth sideways. The first time I saw it, I think I may have had a gun or a shotgun or something. And I remember pausing the game and everybody going, "Holy shit!" Like there was horror games were not common back then.
yeah,
You had the original Resident Evil, where the first jump scare, everybody talks about the dog that jumps through the window. For me, it was the spiders that would, like the giant spiders. You guys remember the giant spiders that are on the ceiling and they drop down, like but in Silent Hill, it was like the way they did it, like the pterodactyl monster that comes into the diner at the beginning of the game. Then there's like the babies they're like babies or children or something running around the school. It's creepy as shit. So so Silent Hill left quite the impression. I enjoyed it, and I think that as much as Silent Hill 2 is great, but we already got a remake of that, and so the reason why they got Bloober Team on this one is because of the success of the remake of Silent Hill 2, and I guess Konami's like, well, I mean that did well, and I don't really have a problem with it too much, because if it brings new people into the fan base that they're like, maybe they're too young to know what the old games are like, or maybe their tastes are different because the old games graphics, like 3D graphics don't tend to age as well as 2D graphics do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if Final Fight, you can put that in, or like even Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3, they still looks great. And those games are 30 years old, 40 years old, some of them. But Silent Hill 1 and like the old like PS1 titles, they don't age as well. So I could see how it could get somebody, into it again. So
yeah, and a lot of these games too that do come out that are remakes and remasters, especially if you're doing it through Steam, they usually, they'll be on sale soon enough. So even if you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to pay that much money for a game that's old, well, you've waited this long, wait another 6 months to a year. Like I just said, the entire Steam or the entire Metal Gear Solid backlog history, including Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid Snake.
What about the Metal Gear Acid?
Metal Gear Acid. No, unfortunately,
portable?
Those ones I think are portable ops and all that. Those are under the domain of Sony. Unfortunately, those ones are not there. Or Metal Gear Solid 4. But every other mainline story. Metal Gear Rising, the original Nintendo ones. They say all of them are available for $20 or less right now. Or you can get like a big ass bundle and get it for like I think around like $80 for like everything. I'm just like, Jesus, man, if I had discretionary income, putting every Metal Gear game on my Steam Deck, that would be
that'd be
that would already have happened by now.
Yeah. All right. So be on the lookout for, we don't, like, details are scarce. They just announced this. We don't really have anything right now, but we'll like let you know when we learn more about the game. Hopefully, the one thing about the original Silent Hill game is that it is where the fog of Silent Hill comes from, which was actually a byproduct of the fact that the PlayStation couldn't. Yeah, they had technical limitations, so they had no draw distance because they wanted to create a completely 3D environment. Which the old Resident Evil games, they had these pre-rendered
backgrounds. Yep.
Yes, and that's why the controls were like tank controls, because they wanted to create this dramatic tension with the camera, but they couldn't like create like render the actual environments. So Silent Hill 1 was trying to do that, and that's why it has like some really cool like camera tricks that it does, especially that one bit in the early game where you're running down the alley and it's like a turn and the camera goes over your head, like there's this voyeuristic quality, like you're being watched, and that's cool. But I understand that, you know, when you remake it, now you have way more power at your disposal, but don't get too far away from the fog, because that's an extremely crucial
Quite
part
honestly,
of the game.
that was like the biggest criticism that I saw. Well,
For
that
Silent Hill
like
2?
for Silent Hill 2 remake, there was a character model that was kind of like, but you know, if you're getting that on PC, you can fix that
Maria?
yourself. Yeah, the Maria. And I know that there are mods that take care of that. But yeah, they kind of lessen the fog. And if this is a screenshot of what's to come, that's the fucking fog. And as long as they actually remember that that is a defining trait of the game, like the fog is a character. It's one of the main characters that, you know, because it's all about the kind of you know, very kind of claustrophobic, even though you're out in the open kind of thing. And it's because that fog is just, you know, it's like the movie The Fog. You know, it's supposed to be there to kind of like what's inside of there. Do I actually keep walking into it? I don't know. You know, what's going to grab me and all this kind of crazy shit. Like that's an important element in Silent Hill. And if they get that down, they remember that. Awesome. You know.
Yeah. All right. So one thing, I was gonna say something else about this, but I can't remember it now. So I'm just gonna move on because you know I forget things. All right. So that is the announcement for Silent Hill 2. We'll see again, you know, what happens. Oh, I remember now. The one thing I was gonna say is this is my prediction. They're gonna change what the nurse looks like. I'm just predicting that because the nurse in the first game, she was just a nurse, but because her outfit was kind of like traditionally nursey looking with the little hat and everything, there's now associations of that nurse outfit with something more sexual or pornographic. And I think what that Bloober team might do is just change her into like a more modern nurse, like in Scrubs or something. That's what I'm expecting. If they don't change it, that would be great, because I think the nurse should look like the nurse. But
the hello nurse aspect, the cheesecake, like, and again, these are things that even if they do that, someone's going to go and fix the character model. So ultimately, you know, and that's the thing too, like with games, like even if they do have, which is all the more reason to kind of, you know, say fuck you to console based closed knit systems. You know, they can try to lock people down as much as they want to and all this kind of stupid bullshit. As long as you're not caught in some kind of centralized access server to play games, we will always have the ability to go and you know, revise and make them more interesting, and then just learn how to mod. Take care of your own shit.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, anyway, let's move on to the next story. So we're going to talk a little bit about Splitgate 2, because the game itself, don't know much about it. As far as I know, there's no controversy about the game itself. But unfortunately, the CEO of 1047 Games wore a hat he wasn't supposed to be wearing, I guess, with the slogan on it that is super offensive to game developers while he was revealing Splitgate 2. This is reminiscent of the guy who landed a comet, or landed a satellite on a comet, by the way, that got shipped for his shirt. So he wore this black cap, and the phrase on the cap said, "Make FPSs great again," or "Make FPS great again."
Yeah,
and it was
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's definitely similar to the scientist you're talking about, but I think this one's a little bit different because Splitgate 1 I was not interested in because it looked like it had, you know, you can even still see it here in the screenshot. It's got like, you know, it looks it's very Pride Month friendly color, you know, the coloring in it and whatnot, and like all this kind of stuff. To me it was kind of like a low level, like it wasn't as disastrous as what Concord went through, but I was not interested in the first Splitgate game because it just kind of seemed kind of like that very kind of homogenized kind of what the fuck ever. And I think that that guy wearing the hat was a way. I think that they ultimately, what we learned this week is, yeah, you can't please everybody. Find your fucking market and go for it. And if you realize after the first go around that it wasn't worth, you know, compromising your voice of you know, your artistic integrity because you're trying to like make sure that you're representative of, you know, the modern audience and various communities, and it didn't sell as well as you wanted it to, and this is your second time to go after it, and so you're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna like, you know, this is a game about like, you know, run and gun, and it's arena shooter, all that kind of stuff. Stick to your fucking guns then. And yeah, they quickly fucking folded.
Well, so basically he was looking to, I guess, address what he found to be issues in the entire first-person shooter genre, slamming titles like Call of Duty and expressing a desire for a Titanfall 3, which would be nice, but I don't think that the developers have. Well, they have no intention of doing it now because they have that other game that everybody's
playing.
They
got Gapex.
Yeah, Apex Legends, right? Gapex Legends, yeah. So that one's killing it, or for whatever reason. So anyway, so he was kind of frustrated with modern shooters. He wanted to make a statement. Unfortunately, he got shit, and instead of sticking to his guns, he did this.
Hey guys, it's Ian. You're probably tired of seeing my face by now, but I promise this message is going to be a little bit different than the previous ones. So I've got a lot of questions about what's up with the hat, why'd you wear it, what was the intent? And I want to start by explaining myself. It is really freaking hard as an independent studio to break through the noise. You know, you go to these award shows. We saw it at TGA's. We had this great trailer, and there's 50 other great trailers, and didn't really have an impact. And so at our biggest stage, coming out of beta, we needed something to grab attention. And the honest truth is, we tried to think of something, and this is what we came up with. We did not intend for this to be taken in any political way whatsoever. And I'm not an idiot. Like, obviously, I knew there would be some level of controversy, but we really saw this as a meme that was kind of stating our truth, which is we do want to improve this genre. We are disappointed with the state of the genre. And so we took it as a meme that we thought would not be nearly as received the way it was, negatively received as the way it was. And so I want to apologize. And genuinely, you know, you can pretend, you don't have to believe me.
I don't.
The truth is, I am sorry. And the reason I'm sorry is because of what this has done to the community. The most important thing to me right now is I want to have an amazing community. That is the reason that I built 1047. That's the reason I love my job, is because I wake up every day. I have friends in the community, Mikavelli, Tovar, all these great people who I play games with, who I get their feedback, I talk to them. I mean, these are the people who got us through the dark times. And I hate seeing division. And that's what I'm seeing right now on both sides. There's division in the community. And for that, I am truly sorry. And again, I'll reiterate, I do stand by the intent of this, which is the intent truly is, take it at face value. We do want to improve this genre. We do feel that the genre is in a bad state, and we want to make FPS games as amazing as possible. But I also understand that it's not just about intent, it's about impact. And the platform that we have had has had a negative impact, and for that, I'm truly sorry. Yeah, cringe. I mean, I wish things were different, and I appreciate all the feedback. That's all I got, guys. But
I got some
wanted to
feels
put
on
this
this
out there.
sure.
And I hope you'll stick with us. I hope you'll keep the feedback coming. For now, we're just going to go back to listening and focusing on the game and nothing else.
What a fucking bum.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I believe that he is sorry, but only because he is worried about what other people think about him that actually don't give a shit about what he's doing. The worst thing you can do, I don't know how many times you have to say this, the worst thing you can do is apologize to these fucking people.
Especially in a public PR statement format. Like if you want to like make a change, make a fucking change. But the thing about this is like throughout this whole little, you know, thing, it's peppered with language that to me it's like the hat was a PR stunt, you know, like that's all that it was. And that's why he's not, you know, like saying, yeah, no, we went out, we said something. And for as much as he sits here and says, oh, well, we noticed this thing in FPS gaming and we wanted to address it. So be a dude, Be a dude, bro. Like, you know, like people give you shit. Be like, yeah, well, go fuck yourself. You know, teabag him. You know, like treat it like actual old school FPS lobby. And your response to that is, oh, I'm sorry we offended anyone. Bitch, like this is the thing. Like you clearly, and that's what I was talking about, like my take on the first Splitgate, why I didn't really get interested in it, because it just seemed like it was something that was mimicking you know, a legitimate, like, you know, like the bombastic aspect of like, you know, being outwardly offensive or what the hell ever. You want to do that, then do that. You want to sit here and like placate everybody and like be homogenized and make sure that you're not offending any little fucking group, then do that. And you stick to whichever lane that it is that you think that it is, but you can't just go and put on a silly hat and think that, oh, we're going to court these people and like we're going to be able to, you know, bring them into it as well, and then not offend your already fucking easily offended group that you're already catering to. Like this is such just a giant misstep. Ultimately, what you did was seemingly just disingenuous from the get-go, wearing the hat, because it wasn't actually about what you're doing. You're like, oh, we wear this hat, razzle dazzle bullshit. These silly ass fucking chuds will think that, oh, look, they actually care about us now. No, that's kind of like saying I'm sorry to a degree. The apology doesn't matter, right? The words I'm sorry don't matter when you actually do try to, like, you know, kind of make amends with someone. It's what you say after that, and it's actually in your actions and your conduct. And so if you thought that your first game coming out was something that should have been received better, then you're the ones who needed to actually fucking make the change, and not just on a surface fucking level. And all this was, when I saw that play out on the Game Fest, was I don't trust it. This just, I cringed when they played the video. It's like, this guy is just wearing a hat. He doesn't actually have this kind of interest. He could sit here and he could say these things. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. And then this being the immediate kind of like, oh, I have to go and like, you know, I'm sorry. It's kind of like when Hulk Hogan got, you know, went through his fucking bullshit. And the only thing, like, he, you know, and he apologized for getting caught in and of itself, because, you know, it was offensive, you know, to a certain group, but he was more concerned about his, you know, his brand and everything, like, in his reputation. Yeah. And so like, that's the thing from this is, oh, we didn't get it received as well. We didn't have this group of people. Yeah, it's because you were catering to fucking ninnies from the onset. And now you're trying to say, oh, well, maybe we'll be taken seriously if we can get these gamer chuds to come along with us. And as long as I put on a hat, they'll be fine with it. And sure, yeah, if you're gonna try to like replace one group for another, then you better fucking, like, you know, have that be more than just fucking lip service. And this was clearly just fucking lip service. It was a goddamn PR stunt. And now they're in an even bigger fucking debacle than they were before, because now they've kind of, like, you know, shown themselves for what they truly are. Nobody can trust them. Even the people that they were originally kind of like, you know, like catering to begin with now feel betrayed. And then all these people that they were trying to reach out to capture a wider net now just see it as what it was, which was empty and fucking hollow. You're gonna sit here and say words like impact, fucking, like, you know, inclusivity, all this kind of stuff, and you're making it worse with every fucking moment you spend on this fake fucking apology.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, I think that he was trying to have it both ways. He wanted to be able to attract the modern audience with the game itself, because the game itself looks like, you know, as Kyle put it, you know, the it's made to appeal to the Imagine Dragons pronoun crowd, which is what it looks like. But then he's like, well, how do I get the mainstream, you know, or like the main audience in, and I'll wear this hat. But then he basically abandoned them when he apologized. And the problem is that he is alienating the people who are actually like have the potential to buy his game, because the pronoun crowd are not going to buy his game. They're not. And like, if you're going to make, the thing is, like, a certain kind of game has an audience built in already. If you're making a JRPG, there's an audience built in. You know, even if your game isn't Japanese, like Expedition 33 appeals to the JRPG crowd, the people who like to play Persona and Final Fantasy, the old Final Fantasy games. If you make like, you know, a horror game, like a survival horror game, Sunken City or Call of Cthulhu or Resident Evil, then there's a genre, there's an audience built into that, and a first-person shooter audience is already there. They already play games. They're still playing Counter-Strike, but you can't I don't know, but that maybe this game is trying to be like Fortnite, which I think is a bad idea because Fortnite basically has it locked down.
Yep.
But I mean, maybe that's the case. But if you're trying to return to some better days of Titanfall and stuff like that, then you have to get away from that branding. But you can't have it both ways. So he's making the mistake of apologizing to people who never intended to give him money to begin with. I think that the apology is genuine, because if it wasn't, he wouldn't be making it. He would have just not tried to appeal to the mainstream, or he would have just tried to appeal to the mainstream, which would have been the wiser choice. But at the end of the day, Splitgate 2, which I wasn't interested in anyway, so it doesn't matter to me, is basically dead on arrival. I can tell you right now, it's not going to sell. And then there's the both sides thing, which he did mention briefly. He said there's a lot of division on both sides. No. That's a lie. That's a lie. And I'm going to show you. I have a. Let me see here. I got a on my page.
While you're looking for that,
study.
I think that the intention, sure. Did he intend to kind of try to set things right? Sure, but he himself as a person is compromised, and so there's no way that he could actually say that with integrity, and that's why he falls back on the I'm sorry that you guys caught me up in something I didn't actually mean. Like, I thought that you were just gullible and that you'd go along with me wearing a hat. Like, no, we don't. You don't have to wear the hat to actually make that impact that you were seeking to make. The hat was just like a superficial way of virtue signaling. You dumb fuck. Like if you want,
that's sort of like when Bud Light tried to course correct, and they were putting out ads that had guys barbecuing with beer bellies, burping at each other, and they're like, "This is men, right?" And it's like, no, that's completely out of touch. All we want is for you to stop using transgender people to sell beer and just go back to doing funny ads, whatever they used to be. But they overcorrected, and then they tried to do it another way where they hyper masculinized it, and they had some guy talking really gritty, and there were the Clydesdales and all that, to sell Budweiser, and it's no, dude, we're done. Until they brought in Shane Gillis to help them with the ads, and I think that kind of, because that's more of what we want, we want authenticity. We don't want men. Do not appreciate being pandered to. They don't. They can see it. Remember,
men are not women. You can't talk to us like we're fucking women.
You can't talk to us like we're women.
Focus testing shit doesn't work on men.
Look at the ads that they put out for the army. So when Biden was in office, there were ads for the army that had a girl raised by two moms, and that they were feminist activists and going to LGBT marches and shit. And they were oh, my two moms they're gonna want me to join the military, and the girl is there with a helmet, and it's like a cartoon. It's obviously aimed at girls, obviously. But at the time, we weren't at war. And then October 7th happened. And we got the Israel calling to for that we should be fighting against Hamas and shit. And right away, the ads are completely different. It's a bunch of white dudes jumping out of helicopters to rock and roll music.
Right.
And it's obvious and nobody bought it. In the comments under those ads, there were lots of men saying, "I'm not dying for this fucking country." So yeah, it's
take care of their own fucking goddamn blood feud that goes back to time and eternity. Sorry.
So really quick, with reference to the both sides thing, okay, it's bullshit. It's only one side. It's the left, and this is a study that came out that says there is more diversity of thought on the political right than on the political left. Although they pride themselves on open-mindedness, liberal thinking actually coalesces around a very narrow set of opinions, whereas the right diverges widely. Now, here's the thing about this. This sounds like it's very flattering for the right, but I want to tell you something. That's not the right. That's just everybody else. This is when I say there is no right, there is only the non-left. This is what I mean. There's leftists who are all on the same page, and they lock it and they march in lockstep. It's so bad that on Blue Sky, they're like people are leaving Blue Sky because like everyone just purity tests each other into oblivion. And so you have people that are going like, these people are crazy radical. They're so hateful. They're so angry. Yeah, because Blue Sky is the new Tumblr. And so you got guys like, like Mark Cuban, who's like lifelong Democrat, and he's like leaving Blue Sky because he's like, there's too much hatred here. So like compared to X, right? And so when I say there is no right, there is just the not left. This is what I mean. So when this article describes it as diversity of thought on the political right, they're missing it too, because that's not what it is. It's just a bunch of normal people that have like slightly different opinions, and then you have crazy people that insist that everyone have their opinions. That's the difference. Right. That's why there's more. So when this guy says both sides, that's why it pisses me off, because what they're trying to do is say, look, I don't want to get a target on my back, so I'm going to blame everybody. It's like, no, blame the people who are doing this to you. Blame the left for this, because they're the ones that are doing it. Stop being a coward. It's moral cowardice. Just put the onus where it belongs. And so, he's being a pussy, and the both sides thing is bullshit.
Right. And if you actually want to find the actual, if you want to find the actual legitimate market, it's not like, the unfucking inclusivity circle jerk society. And it's also not like, this puritanical, like, everything has to be like, because it's like that whole idea of like, oh, well, if you're not a Crusader zealot, you're this extreme gooner. Oh, if you don't care about like identity politics, then you're obviously this puritanical asshole. It's like, no, both of you are extremes of insanity, and you don't actually represent humanity in the fucking slightest, because you either don't want your opinions, your feelings to be harmed, which guess what? People have to deal with adversity. That's called fucking life. Or, you've got like these people that are like, oh, well, if people see anything like this, when they're not going to be able to, be able to conduct themselves appropriately. Like you're a Christian, you're doing Goon in June, like there's no problem with, sex and violence within context, like if you want to go to church and you're the kind of person to do that, that's your thing, but try to like, actually be forgiving for people that don't see your own whatever the hell. Like purity testing to that degree is fucking wrong, and purity testing through all this goddamn Pride Month insanity is beyond wrong. It's all of us people that are kind of stuck in the middle of these two kind of weird kind of extreme mindsets, don't really represent anyone, but they're really good to like kind of like goad people into, being crabs in the bucket, so to speak. That's and then becomes all the focus about that. Just tell both of those groups, those very small, just incidental groups, to get fucked and actually just deal with like the wider grasp of humanity that just can actually understand that I don't have to agree with somebody 100% on every little fucking thing. We can diverge and actually challenge each other and find a greater sense of what life is ultimately about. Focus on those people. Those other two smaller fucking marginalized groups that marginalize themselves and try to marginalize everybody else along with them, they can all get fucked.
All right, well, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. I'm going to move on to the next thing. So there was a new game that's sort of being, okay. So there's a new action-adventure, open-world thriller game developed by Build a Rocket Boy, which has some people, the director is a guy named Leslie Benzies, who used to formerly the president, I think, of Rockstar North, okay? And they've released a game called Mind's Eye, or it's not out yet, but I guess it's in early access or something.
Yeah, Hypno was playing through it earlier this week.
Yeah, and it launched on June 10th for PS5. Oh, I guess it launched, so it's out. Ooh, that's not good, because this game is a disaster. So it's a PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC, and directed by Leslie Benzies, formerly of Rockstar North. The game is set in a near futuristic desert city of Red Rock, following Jacob Diaz, a former soldier with a neural implant causing memory loss. Features a linear narrative with a faux open world akin to Mafia, third-person shooting, driving, and a user-generated content system tied to the Everywhere platform. The game was initially a proof of concept for everywhere, but became a standalone $60 premium title. And well, I mean, I'll read a little bit more and then I'll show you guys some of the gameplay. So the game's narrative and gameplay mechanics drew mixed responses. Critics found the story generic and lacking depth, with Games Radar Plus criticizing its bland missions and IGN noting unconvincing combat and dull design. But what's worse than that is the technical problems. So there's performance issues on the PC, especially, were a significant complaint, with reports of stuttering, frame rate drops, and blurriness even on high-end systems like an RTX 4080, a CPR minigame requiring complex QuickTime events like CPR, like the act of CPR is a minigame, and the QuickTime events are not great, which is like, it's probably the dumbest shit. Like, why would you want a CPR minigame? With QuickTime events, aren't we past this already? I mean, unless it's there for like Flash, like God of War, for example, the old ones, they had QuickTime events for killing monsters, and it was, and once you got them down, you were just doing it to watch the spectacle. I'm fine with that. Like Stellar Blade has some of that too, but like for little things, I think it's the worst thing about some games. Like there was one game that I was hoping would be better than it was, Ashura's Wrath, because it looked awesome, but it's just a giant QuickTime event. The whole game, basically.
Tedious.
Yeah, it's super tedious, and it's a shame because there's a lot of like, you know, something there that could be amazing, but anyway. So frustrated players until nerfed in June 13th patch. Other user reviews on Steam were mostly negative. Yeah. So let's look at some footage. So this is a video called "Mind's Eye is a Broken Mess." And I'm just gonna play some of this for you guys. So
looks beautiful.
Whoop.
I think there's some collision issues.
Like no other. Experience Zilly today. Zilly is not liable for any loss of taste after consuming Zin-infused products. Meow.
If you need me to download the directions straight into your brain, I could maybe do that.
Oh, this is no bueno.
Oh no. This is worse than like Outlaws and
this is like PvP. Yeah, this is like fucking Cyberpunk 2077 levels of just kind of not ready for prime time. And you know what's sad about this is Leslie Benzies from Rockstar days. Manhunt, when it came out, was an amazing kind of revolution on the combat system that would ultimately go into Grand Theft Auto, right? And so they made a whole game around what they wanted to do to optimize the combat system. And so I can respect them going and saying, oh, well, this is going to be an aspect of this much larger flagship game that we're working on.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have released it.
But they should not have released this shit.
It's clearly not finished. Like,
no,
this might even be worse than Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
but Cyberpunk 2077 at launch had a lot of problems, but they were really bad on like the previous generation hardware, like the PS4 and the Xbox.
It wasn't optimized rather than not.
The Xbox One. So, but like this is like just how is this worse on PC? I mean, I know that a lot of games don't like. I think The Last of Us, Part 2 on PC had a lot of problems too. So maybe it's like the going from console to PC. That's the issue. But
if I could implore to any of the game devs that aren't watching this, like seriously, you got to stop, catering to fucking consoles first. PC's got to be where you're trying to put your optimization, because it's ultimately where your long-term stability is going to come from.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Console era is over and done. It just doesn't realize it yet. It's a zombie economy situation. Consoles are there for the people who like iPhones and don't want to like actually know how their technology works. They just want it to be presented to them in a way that feels nice. But and for them, cool. But you still have to like make things work. But if you try to build your fucking business models around, again, what we were just saying, you can't go after like the small group. And console going forward, especially, becomes more and more of a small niche based thing. This is not good by any stretch of the imagination.
All right, let's look at some more.
Yeah,
of it.
continue. Yeah, hilarious.
The car disappeared.
Yep.
What's with this crouching like drama thing? They're gliding like a Spike Lee movie. Oh, look at those models, dude.
Yeah.
Wearing a dunce cap. Oh man, it's terrible.
It's got some LOD issues. Clearly got.
This is what we do. We sit, we play it.
People
There's
running
usually
around
somebody
in the
in there
sky.
who will take tickets, and that'll get sent out to devs to fix. Chris, you got a ticket about the fire extinguisher.
God damn. You know what's really sad about this? Is everybody was hoping that, like, it's like, we could
Look at that. What?
Right?
What's going on? What is she doing?
Right? It's like it's cycling through all of its possible, script animations on how to.
Just kill her, dude.
And this is so unfortunate.
Dude, she just got. It was like the Terminator getting shot and then turning back slowly to look.
Right.
You can't kill me.
Right. I have the power. But this is so unfortunate too, because there are people that have their eyes open and are looking at GTA 6. It's like, I'm not ready to just buy that and buy into it and trust it because of all these people that left, right? And I was sitting here just saying, yeah, I'm willing to see what happened with the guys that left. And if Rockstar falls by the wayside and I don't even get involved with GTA 6, because there's going to be this alternative to come out, they need to fucking nail this shit. They need to like establish that they are the legacy of actual talent, skill, and ability. And this ain't it. It's not good.
You guys want to see more of this video? There's like another 3 minutes. I'll read some Rumble rants while I wait for you guys to tell me. Zerang says, you can't apologize and use on both sides after wearing that hat. What was he thinking? Just kidding. Yeah, again, trying to have his cake and eat it too. You just can't, dude. You got to pick a side. Pick the sane or the insane. That's basically all it is, okay? Zerang's then gives a $5. Thank you, Zerang's, and says, so they put out a Memento-esque game and bogged it down with poor implementation. People walked out of the theater confused by Memento to begin with. Okay, Gabriel says keep going. All right, I'll play some more of it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get more chuckles out of this. You can't kill me, motherfucker! Oh, that did it.
And nothing else, if you want, you can always mute this and read a few more of the comments if people want to add in their thoughts on it.
Yeah.
We'll
just lower it a lot.
Yeah.
This video is not monetized anyway, so Nick Tech, fair use. I'm just watching it for the lulz. Subscribe to Nick Tech if you want to support them. So, what's that guy doing? Like, why did you do? Oh, hey.
Oh shit! Your drone's a little. That's.
Why is it so huge?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be.
Right. Is this supposed to be like some kind of drone craft? Like a weird heliocopter?
This is the thing, like, oh shit. Cars passing through cars.
Oh, Jesus.
Phasing vehicles. You guys should know that if you make a game, gamers are going to do stuff like this because they're going to test
This is not even alpha ready, let alone beta.
No, not at all. No. Oh no, he's dead.
Jesus, this is terrible. Yeah, I've seen this. This is the clip I think I've seen where people are going to be like walking in the sky and all this kind of crazy shit.
Really?
Yeah.
It
Yeah, you
looks
got
like
another
he's checking to
$5
see
from
if the. Oh, thank you. Wait, where? We'll see
on
it.
Rumble, Xerix.
I
read
read
it.
that one, the Memento one.
Oh yeah. Okay, all right. It's just popping up to me now on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
A bit of a delay.
Yeah. Well, evidently, Toasty got us with a "That's what she said," so I'm not sure which one of us said the thing, but.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Average Zoomer,
I
too
mean-
focused on his phone to notice the gunman.
Drone was clearly a demon engine. Laws of gravity and momentum don't apply.
Right. Yeah, if you guys have any good zingers, feel free to throw them in the chat.
Jacob is dead. Wait, what did he hit? What? Wait, what?
Oh, I think this might be the Hypno clip. Or it might not be, but yeah, Hypno's got a really great one, being in that fucking ATV out in the middle of the desert.
I can feel it.
Having a chance to.
Does he have eyes? Are we gonna see that?
Full search of her known data.
What in the world is going on?
What the hell? Popping through models and shit?
The map's got glitches.
Oh, you said that's huge. So that's why Toasty
Oh.
got it. Oh yeah, for the drone specifically.
Just randomly failing missions. All right, so yeah, Mind's Eye is a hot mess. I didn't know about it, but here's the thing, though. They were trying to use the fact that one of it was involving guys from Rockstar,
right?
Specifically, Leslie Benzies.
Yep.
Was like the name attached to it. So what's happening now with video games is it looks like they're doing the thing that Hollywood used to do, where they'll say, "You ever seen like a movie that's shit?"
Produced by.
Yeah, they'll say from the studio that brought you, and they'll bring up some really good movie, but it's the studio that brought you, which doesn't really say anything, but they're just using, other successes from the past to like essentially piggyback onto and prop up like whatever piece of trash you're putting out. This is what that is. Like basically, from the producers of. By the way, producers don't really have a lot to do with the production of a movie other than paying for it. They sign the checks, right? Sometimes they get a little bit of input, but generally that's not the person you're looking at. You're usually looking at the directors, the screenwriters, but they'll use anybody else. If they think that they have a turd on their hands, they'll just show you who the Academy Award winning stars are, who the cinematographer, like some other guy,
even if they're not actually really directing. Disney is synonymous for doing this in recent years. They'll go and they'll get like a whole bunch of directors that did something great and amazing, and then they have no ability to actually even direct the movie because it's locked down to committee kind of how to's and why's and all this checkboxing kind of bullshit. But let's see. Norwegian said in the chat, he said, "Mind's Eye nailed the realism of most people being empty-headed."
Siege Outdoors, welcome to the stream, says W stream, W Rumble, drop a like and follow, folks. Thank you. Please do what Siege Outdoors says and like and follow the stream. I appreciate it. So this game is far from ready, and maybe they'll get lucky and they'll pull a Cyberpunk 2077 like a CD Projekt Red and have a redemption arc. We will see, but for now, I'll just say avoid that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So next I want to get into, let me just get rid of that Mind's Eye thing. We're going to talk a little bit about animation.
Yeah, speaking of running things by committee.
Yeah. So, I saw this video and I wanted to talk about it because we talk about woke a lot, and a lot of people seem to think that it's like a recent phenomenon.
No,
right? Like in the last 10 years and the last 5 years.
Right.
And maybe it ramped up like the Me Too movement had a big effect on various entertainment industries, because essentially it was a shakedown to get a bunch of men fired and replace them with women. And that's what happened. I mean, even Nerdrotic admitted it in like a recent video that he made. that the Me Too movement was just a way for women to take men's jobs.
Indeed.
Women who are not qualified.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I've been in this space for about a year now, doing online content stuff and everything like that. At least about these Gamergate matters. And the one thing that I've always come in saying about this is, yeah, 10, 15 years ago is when it infiltrated the game industry, but it was because they were, you know, just grafting in the process that they had already honed in movies, in other forms of media and things like that, that had been going on since, you know, like when I tell people Disney hasn't been Disney since at least the 90s, it's been the Buena Vista Corporation, and they use Disney as a logo to, you know, kind of play off your nostalgia and your brand recognition. But yeah, we're gonna see here that this shit goes back even beyond then.
Did you see this video?
Oh yeah, I watched
or did you see the film threat reaction?
I watched the film threat reaction, but if you actually have
this
the
is the
full
original.
clip, yeah,
no, this is the original
when
video.
we get done, send me the clip to it, and I'll actually watch the whole thing, because we'll cover it again probably tomorrow with Toasty.
Yeah, so this is actually like a pretty innocent video. It was a short segment, about 13 minutes, on Joe Barbera. So like he was the one half of Hanna-Barbera. Do you guys know Hanna-Barbera? Because I mean, I'm old. I know Hanna-Barbera, but
Space Ghost.
they were like, they created like hundreds of cartoons back in the day. I think they started in like the 50s, maybe even before that, because they were the originators of one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Tom and Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys who created Tom and Jerry for MGM, and it put them on the map. I mean, they were creating like incredible stories, shorts that people watched in theaters. Tom and Jerry was one of the most popular cartoons, like at the time. And back then, they used to play those cartoons in the theater. So you go to the movies to watch something, and they'd have a short, and it would be like a cartoon. Usually it was a Tom and Jerry one, or a Disney one, or a Tex Avery, or something like that, you know.
Flintstones used to be big on everything. They used to sell Winston cigarettes.
Yes, they created the Flintstones, which was the first primetime animated show. So it would come on prime time.
It was the Simpsons back in the black and white days.
It was the Simpsons. Yep, it was the Simpsons before the Simpsons, right? And but I'm pointing out the Tom and Jerry thing because after the Tom and Jerry was the success of that, the studio
Tom and
offered
Jerry
to
was
buy,
Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, the studio offered to buy Tom and Jerry from Hanna-Barbera. They bought it for some millions. I think it was like $12 million, the property itself. And they sold it because they were like, wow, $12 million, you know, that's crazy. But they didn't realize how much more it was going to blow up after they sold it, which is why there's Tom and Jerry cartoons. The art style changes because Hanna-Barbera is no longer making them. So they had like Chuck Jones was doing it for a while, and like some of the guys that worked at Warner Brothers were doing it. But anyway, that aside, they ended up working in television because Tom and Jerry was made for theaters. So they were working in television, which meant the budgets were a lot smaller. They had less time to work on stuff. So they had to work in a more efficient fashion. So you got cartoons like Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones, which are like the ones that are best known. But there's Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound. Like it goes so much. The Jetsons, the fucking Wacky Races, like all kinds of cartoons. And they were done in a relatively formulaic way. But then as time went on, they started to get focus groups involved to help him with the cartoons. And I wanted to play this clip of the kind of stuff that this guy had to deal with when he was making later cartoons. Whereas before, it was just like whatever makes people laugh, you know, and I'm just going to put it in there, which is why Tom and Jerry, people say it's really violent. Some people say it's really racist and all this other shit because of Mammy Two Shoes, which is like the maid. A hilarious character, like absolutely. But again, this was like not okay anymore. And if you'll notice who was involved with these changes. Yes. So let's play the clip.
One scream and every troll in town heads for the door. You know what I mean?
Barbera is still pitching, but the times, the tastes, and the
what
sensibilities
is this?
have changed.
Why should the
An ethically
female
beige
scream?
woman has entered the room.
So she immediately, no, it's okay. I want you guys to hear this. Gabriel says, Dick Dastardly is my spirit animal. Here.
Sensibilities have changed.
Why should the female scream?
She just stopped screaming. She doesn't scream.
Why did you feel the need to have a host?
I think we felt the need for an adult figure.
Well,
I mean, it isn't a school.
Well, the host controls.
So
This
you
is
wouldn't
the
really
mentor.
why do you call him a host?
The people who pick children's programs for the networks, like NBC's Phyllis Tucker Vincent and her aides, insist that Barbera stick to their rules. No racial or sexual stereotypes, few words of more than one syllable, and above all, easy with the violence. What was once considered slapstick is now considered antisocial.
I have one comment about your military school guys. No minority kids. In fact, the other thing you could even think about in today's military schools, there's girls.
Can I get just a moment to address the things you want to pause it?
This all.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like immediately she's Phyllis Tucker Smith or what the fuck ever. You know, that back in the 1980s, that should have been the red flag. Like this just speaks.
This wasn't the 80s. This was like the
70s, late 70s,
the early 70s.
Okay,
the early
yeah.
70s.
Well, yeah, and that's what we're saying is like this focus testing, like all this kind of stuff, like this wokeness, woke white women, as I refer to them, you know, like with the feathery haircuts and all this kind of stuff. All that it looks no different other than like a few little kind of details in terms of like the hairstyle that they're going for. You could have this exact same thing happening right here and now today, except it would be half a fucking shaved head, and like the other chicks there would have like, you know, purple and
Don't
blue
forget
and,
the septum piercings.
right,
Don't forget
right,
the
of course,
septum
yes,
piercings.
yeah, modern, yeah, but it's the exact same hive mind mentality. This just kind of like, you know, like infantilization of reality. This is no good. It has never been good, and this is the thing that's been causing the rot and the degeneracy of people actually being able to learn and actually just be entertained by things that are just kind of fun. But instead, like, you know, everything has to be educational. Everything has to be like, you know, like, oh, well, we have to make sure that, you know, people aren't just having a good time. But I digress. Go ahead and like, yeah.
No, it's okay. These old the old Tom and Jerry cartoons, they went into syndication, which is kind of funny because so originally they played in theaters, so they weren't explicitly for children, although children could probably watch them. But it wasn't assumed. It was assumed that kids would not like see what Tom and Jerry would do and say, "Oh, I'm going to do that to my brother or sister," right? But like when the 70s came around, that was really in the late 60s. You know, that was one of the. I would say that political correctness to some degree existed before that, but that was when you saw the really first steps into this, you know, feminization of our media and our culture, because Joe Barbera is just like, I only want to put what's funny in the cartoon. And these people are like, well, why is that funny? Like, like these people are humorless. Okay. That's why they're like, well, there are girls in the military now. Why aren't there any females in here? Where are the minorities at?
Right.
Where's the representation? What about Mammy Two Shoes? She was like black woman that ran the house.
Right.
Not that kind of representation. We don't want that, right? But so like you already have people meddling in his work, and this is the thing. Like I used to love Hanna-Barbera. They were the goats of like doing cartoons. But I noticed, even myself, after a while when the newer stuff came out, it was so saccharine and it was sterilized and there was nothing edgy and it wasn't, it was all like the same and there was missing something. I was like, why is this shit now? And it like the edginess didn't return until another studio started doing something else, until we got The Simpsons, until we got Futurama, until we got Ren and Stimpy, or whatever it is, right? And this seems to happen in waves. Like, you know, you'll get something, and then it's edgy and popular, and then it gets, you know, it gets nerfed basically, and they nerf it, and then like there was a period in Tom and Jerry cartoons where they were just friends, and they
Yeah.
were just like hanging out together. I hated those. Like the bow tie. I call it the bow tie Jerry because Jerry had a bow tie for some reason. I hated those cartoons because there was nothing fun about them.
Right.
I mean, even the Looney Tunes had that issue. Whereas before, like they would just go ham on everything.
Yeah,
I think
Tom
the
and Jerry
one
was
person-
Itchy and Scratchy before Itchy and Scratchy.
Yes. The one person who made cartoons unapologetically and never changed until I guess he died was Tex Avery. He was the only one that did not give a shit. But I wanted to show you guys that this kind of thing has been going on for a long time. And I think that that is, and again, people will tell you like in the 70s, like it was so much worse for women or whatever. No, they've had power, like going back to before, but probably before this. I mean, like the fact that they could be up there boldly saying you should change these things. And it's not just this black woman. She's got a whole group of women.
Right, of women. Exactly. And that's the thing, it's this middle management. Like people have heard me say it all the time. Marketing, accounting, and legal. That leads to malpractice in entertainment. And and it all started when they were like, oh, well, we actually have men who are technical, skilled. And this way it happened in the game industry, such in the way that it did. They infiltrate through the HR department, through the public relations, through the, like these jobs that don't require a whole bunch of high level, technical skill and ability. And so they go and they find people that are easy to deal with, people that are a little bit softer. Like the whole reason that I don't work in the doctor's office anymore, it wasn't because I didn't know what the fuck was up and how to like actually run the place. They needed a chick that like, for all the woke white women who came into the office didn't feel was like, he's a little weird, he's a little creepy, he's a little strange. It's like, I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing a button-down shirt and a tie doing the thing. Like if you find that odd, well, that says more about you than it does me. And so they went and they found someone that was palatable, and I got replaced by a nice, kind black lady that was in her mid-20s that had dropped out of college and didn't actually finish the stuff that I was skilled in, but she was really nice. She's so nice. And so that was the downfall of everything. It's been going back fucking decades.
Yeah, for sure. So let me play this clip again for you guys just so you hear it.
Few words of more than one syllable, and above all, easy with the violence. What was once considered slapstick is now considered antisocial.
I have one comment about your military school guys. No minority kids. That's the other thing you could even think about.
Wow.
In today's military schools, there's girls.
You are right. You are right. Good heavens. This all results in a kind of a policing, which is necessary, and results in a kind of a leveling off of the kind of entertainment. It's all the same, it seems to me.
Homogenized.
Yeah, the way they rationalize, they say anything that can be imitated by a child, we don't want to see. Therefore, you don't even throw pies in anybody's faces anymore. But I'll never forget going to one of the pressure committees and saying, and I said, well, I was raised on this kind of stuff. I was raised on this comedy, and it never hurt me. And they said, oh, yes, but look at the world today, they said. We've been sanitizing our stuff for years, but I don't see the world getting any better. I mean, I don't see the children getting sanitized in any way. Children do what they want, but it isn't the cartoons that do it. What I hate to see is that I can't make them laugh the way I used to make them laugh.
That's right. Can't make him laugh the way he used to make him laugh. It doesn't bring pleasure. It demoralizes.
Yep.
Hanna-Barbera, they deserve so much more. Like they had projects that I think this kind of meddling ruined. And one of them that comes to mind in particular, obviously they made a mistake in selling Tom and Jerry to MGM, which they regret. They regretted like later on, like, well, we should never have done that. But they had an idea. One of their other products that they own was a show called Johnny Quest. And if you can find Johnny Quest, I think Warner Brothers owns it now. But the old John, not the fucking whatever the newer ones from the 90s were, those are shit. Fuck those. The original Johnny Quest show that Hanna-Barbera made in the 1960s that became the sort of like it became the groundwork for the Venture Brothers to parody, which Venture Brothers is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
That show was them saying, okay, so we conquered primetime with the Flintstones. We made a show that is for the family to watch, and the Flintstones was killer. I mean, the Jetsons didn't even come close. It was actually the Jetsons was after the homogenization, which is why the Jetsons is less impressive than the Flintstones overall.
Right.
But Johnny Quest was supposed to be something like really hardcore. Like there were people that were going to die on the show. It wasn't going to be like bloody per se or gory, but very pulpy action. And if you can watch, they only made a few episodes and they wanted it to be extremely like, you know, well done, well animated, high budget, but they just did not get the support from the studios. And I'm betting it's because they were moving in this other direction and they didn't want to support them. But there are, I think there's like maybe 8 episodes or something of Johnny Depp. I'm not Johnny Depp, of Johnny
Quest, the
Johnny
more
Quest.
kind of visceral take on it.
Yeah, the old Johnny Quest show, the old one.
Yeah. You do have another
I know, I do. Another Rumble rant. Thank you, Zeranx. He says marketing, accounting, and legal leads to malpractice. You do that on purpose, John. Nice. Oh yeah, sure. Marketing, accounting, and legal.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, it was they were very ambitious guys, and it's a shame that there were people who were looking to undermine that and take that from them. So let me see what is it saying in the chat before I move on to the next thing. I don't think there was a greater moral to many of the Tom and Jerry cartoons. The plot largely served to fuel the antics. Yeah, it was just supposed to be what it is. You know, Tom is trying to kill Jerry or eat him or something, and it's all about the chase. It's slapstick. It's like demanding that the Three Stooges have a plot. We don't need that. We just need to drop them in a situation and watch the fun.
Watch the insanity.
Yeah. That's it. But like we can't have that. Everything has to have a meaning now. So like it started when everyone said there had to be a meaning, and now we're at the point where not only does it have to have a meaning, but it has to have a very specific kind of meaning. Right?
When I was in art school, make sure that you try to find the human experience. Like, you know, the human experience is pretty much being a shitty person more often than not. Like all these people who like they bow down to like the concept of civility. You know, civility is what humanity is all about. It's what that's what it strives for. But generally speaking, people are anything but civil. Stub your toe, and you have no one to blame but yourself. But you still shout, "Motherfucker!" You got, it's like we are flawed, and we are constantly going to find ourselves failing. And to try to, disassociate that aspect of ourselves from reality and how we actually move through this space as people will only diminish us and turn us into these mindless automatons that will get caught up in the transhumanist agenda, such as we've seen after 50 years of working towards it and longer, But this is no good.
Okay, so let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. I thought it was absolutely crucial because it does give you an idea of the pattern, the larger patterns, and how far back this goes. But we're getting now towards the cake section, and it's about 12:30, which is fine. I do want to mention briefly, there was another story about how Expedition 33's developers are being accused of being racist because there's a lot of white people.
Too many white people,
Yeah, too many white people on the team. But I mean, that's so like low-hanging fruit. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, what about all these other people? It's like, yeah, dude, if I pay like someone, like, because I talked about this earlier in the week, we just like, I'll briefly just say a thing on it. So if I throw a party and I hire catering, do I sit here and say, oh, the caterers that I hired threw no, I threw the fucking party. I hired those fucking people to serve the food, to do the shit. But it's my party. You're invited. Who gives a fuck about like the goddamn catering? Just what's the quality of And so if I hire someone to help along and I credit them in the game credits, sure, they assisted, but they're still not solely responsible for the development. That is the core group of the 30 some odd people at the studio that made Claire Obscura. All those other people,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, you want to nitpick and like try to like detract from. They made the choice. They made the decision to hire and outsource that stuff, and they have been credited appropriately, but they're not responsible for the game. That's why they don't get mentioned as the important aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's just anything because like the thing is that these people, like, I don't know, they're just grifters that want to like tear down the small studio that does well with the mainstream because their favorite things, their Dragon Age the Veilguard, their Avowed, those games didn't do well and they're butthurt about it. But this little indie title with a small team, at least like relatively compared to like the big studios, are doing much better. So yeah, it's just sour grapes. I don't know. But okay, I got another Rumble rant. Thank you, NovaFan21. Really appreciate it. Gives $1 and says, me to devs. Do you remember what movies were like on VHS? Devs, no. Me, funny, because I expect to hear the same answer when I ask people what PlayStation and Xbox used to be like.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Very cool. All right. All right, so we're gonna move on now. I gotta show you guys this. This happened right after my show last week. So we're gonna look at the trailer for this new game called Reloaded. You probably know about this one, but I'm gonna play it anyway because it's something. So Reloaded takes place in an Afro-futurist setting.
It's this thing.
You don't know about this one?
I do. That's why I'm like, oh god, yeah. Like,
it's a heist game. It's developed by a South African studio, Niamakop.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
It was tacked on at the end of the Summer Games Fest. They had the Day of the Devs, and this was like a whole fucking section. Oh god, it's so cringe.
Yeah, for sure. So, before people say that, because that's the thing that's funny about this is that everyone's. Well, let's just watch the trailer first.
Yeah, it'll speak for itself.
Yeah. Well, you guys
Treaties
probably
were signed, promises made and broken. Is it stealing to take back what was stolen?
Stolen? Who is stealing them?
Us.
It's time to get out of there.
Let me introduce a friend of mine. Smart, agile, and will let you look into places with the tightest security.
Let's go! I could probably bench press every one of them.
The locksmith strikes again. Hold on!
Listen, are you having second thoughts?
Nope. Just hoping you won't get me killed.
Yeah.
I know what you and your little crew are doing.
Nobody threatens my family or my friends and gets away with it. So we are going to do whatever it takes to take back Africa's belongings, and we're going to do it together.
So,
oh fucking A, what the hell?
Wakanda Simulator. No, it's blackity black intensifies. So, no confirmed release date yet. Slated.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I am multicultural.
I own the artifacts now. So you basically, it's set in the near future where a transatlantic returns treaty mandates the reparation of African artifacts from Western museums. Players control a crew of ordinary African citizens staging high-tech heists to reclaim real-world artifacts, navigating loopholes exploited by museums to retain them in private collections. The game blends action, adventure, puzzle platforming, parkour, and tactical planning with a focus on 70 real looted artifacts, according to the game's developers. So this is actually supposedly there's a wee wuzzery going on. There's like some actual history in here, and
emphasis on the trans, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. There's like a weird like troon dude in there. Where is he?
Yeah.
He's back
Yeah.
there in the background there.
Yep.
The green shirt. He's and it's weird whenever they introduce like a troon in the games now. They're all like the strongest characters, like the big strong guy.
Yep.
So it's weird, but the developers, okay, so like some people have been saying, oh, this is such a racist game. These people realize how racist this game is because you're playing black people and you're looting, you know, for the good guys. It's being developed by South African blacks.
Right.
So it's not like this is not one of those white people are the worst kind of things. This is black people that are doing this. And honestly, what I'm getting from this is if you know what's going on in South Africa right now, there are some parallels to this narrative. This is a narrative about taking back what they believe is rightfully theirs.
By any means.
Yeah, by any means necessary, while people like farmers are losing their land. And it's the same narrative. It's reparations, right? So not to bring this down with something serious, because this game is not going to do
Highly
well.
laughable.
Like
like
let's look at some of the comments here. I didn't even know what it's gonna say, but yeah, creates a game meant to represent Africans. It's a game about looting. South Park couldn't make a parody this good.
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't play Dustborn. You didn't play Concord. Now get ready to not play Relooted.
Oh shit. Yeah. Well, last week on Doctor Who, which is also kind of going through the same kind of ideological fucking insanity, we did a tier listing, right? And like the tiers was actually decent, accidentally hilarious, cringe, puke inducing, and throw it in hell. And I said, so obviously, like, we're starting on the cringe is the baseline of any of this stuff. Did they get so caught up in their virtue signaling messaging that it makes you want to puke, or do they get so caught up in it that they actually reveal themselves and make all of us quote unquote chuds laugh about it because they don't even realize like how much they're giving the game away? And that's what this is. Like, this is unintentionally fucking hilarious. It's like, please do go on. Thank you for proving my point that you're like completely butthurt and felted, and like you're just gonna like react in such a way that we can all have a good laugh at it. This is fucking insane.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let me just see what you guys are saying before I move on to the next thing. So yeah, this is the Chicago simulator, LA simulator now, right? Light Ferret says there's quite a few white guys on the team too, but they could all just be beta simps too. Well, you know, there's a guy who makes gaming videos. He's a South African guy named Akalon TV. He's a South African guy. And he said that the white liberals are the worst in South Africa. They're the most self-hating. There's this phenomenon, and it's very common with white people in particular. When I say white, I don't think it's the best definition of it, but I'll use it for the sake of brevity. And the oikophobia is the hatred of your own culture, of who you are, of your own identity, of your own nation, of your own civilization. And unfortunately, like a lot of white South Africans have been heavily propaganda. Think about it. Like if you live in the UK right now, okay, or Canada, there's a lot of self-hatred in of their own. Like there's a lot of oikophobia in Canada and in the United Kingdom. And in Europe as well, which is why they're letting all of this stuff, like they're just allowing themselves to be invaded because they're just like, this is what we do. On some level, they think they deserve it. It's like karma for like the sins of the father. South Africa has probably got it the worst because of like where it is and the history of South Africa and everything else, but mostly the propaganda.
Yeah, people that got caught up in liberal arts school backgrounds generally. And then when people hear me say woke white women, woke white women come in many shades of color and shapes and sizes and of the various two sexes that we have in this reality. Woke white women, when I'll sometimes call them, I'll refer to it as beta made bitch, behavior. And yeah, like those are white women as well, woke white women are not just white women, I think that's what you mean. This is more of like a white collar kind of mentality of homogenize, like what we saw, the focus testing. You know, people are like, oh, well, what if we do this? What if we go and like, it's like what, remove the humanity from it? Get fucked.
Yeah. Zerang says, is it wrong for you to have two minds about this? I get how the release is terrible given the racist context in South Africa. I'm just wondering if we'd have the same view regarding China and their artifacts. Well, I mean, I think it's all about how it's implemented. I just don't think this is going to be in good faith. I think that this is going to be heavily messaged and heavy-handed. Could it be a fun concept on its own, just as a game? Sure, but I doubt that that's what this is.
Once they steep it in the reality of these important artifacts, they have been taken from us.
They're going to use it to drive a wedge. And I think that's the point of it. So, but on the other hand, let's look at another trailer for a game that I forgot to mention last week that I really want to share. This might give you like different vibes, but this is called Chronicles Medieval. And well, I'll let it speak for itself.
Thou shalt not kill. So the priests tell us. So the Lord commands. But ambitious men do not listen. I sought no war, but war found me. I became like them. I took up the sword, prayed I could win redemption through my deeds. But some paths, once taken, have only one ending. I shall find no peace. On this road, there is only death. But that's just my story. Go write your own.
Yeah.
So it looks pretty good. Like I'm not. I think it's like Deus Vult for sure. There's like let me just get some more information about it. But it looks like it's some kind of like large scale war simulator of some kind, but you're like on the field. So I'm there for it. It reminds me hold on. It reminds me of there's a game on on Steam called War of Rights. And it's like a civil war simulator. I don't know if but it's like multiplayer.
Oh yeah, we've showed it here before. No, it's
yeah. So Chronicles Medieval is an action strategy RPG developed by Raw Power Games, a new Copenhagen-based studio with developers from titles like Hogwarts Legacy, Hitman, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Announced at Summer Games Fest. It's set in 1313 Europe AD, offering a dynamic medieval sandbox where players create a character starting from humble beginnings, like a peasant or craftsman, and rise to power through combat, diplomacy, or subterfuge. The game features large-scale battles, castle building, and modding support, with the trailer narrated by Tom Hardy, who's the guy who narrated that trailer. He's an actor. He played Bane in like the Batman movie. It's planned for Steam Early Access in 2026, with console releases to follow after about 12 months. So that's Chronicles Medieval, which looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
They didn't show much gameplay. It's still early, but we'll
I always
watch it and see, what
develops.
comes.
I always take sizzle reel trailers with a little bit of like skepticism, like, oh, all right, it's looking nice. I'll keep an eye on it, but we'll see at any moment in time this shit could go sideways.
It's absolutely,
but it does. But so far what I'm seeing is nice and looking good.
Promising.
What was it? The Total War games, right? Where they have them set in different eras and whatnot. That's kind of what this is reminding, but specifically fixated on the medieval combat, which I'm here for it if they do it right. Like, like wide scale fucking, warfare with people getting cleaved in half and all this kind of shit, and like just mounds of dead bodies on a battlefield. It'd be pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really cool if they like really did it unapologetically. Charles Bronson and Bronson. Yeah, I watched Bronson. I watched that. All right. He's been in a lot of stuff. I liked him in what was a smaller movie that he was in? I think he was in Layer Cake.
Mm-hmm.
And he was. And he was I love that movie. I always bring it up. If you've never seen Layer Cake, you should watch it. It's Daniel Craig's the first movie I saw him in before they cast him as Bond. I think that Layer Cake's much better. But anyway, okay, I got one more thing to show off that I just thought was kind of funny. And it sort of like shows where this is like a give you an idea of like what the tone of the normies are at. So this is Shane Gillis hanging out with his buddies, and they're talking about GTA 6.
That's why I hope GTA 6 fails, but it's not going to fail. It's not going to fail.
Why would you want it to fail? It's going to be awesome.
No, it's not.
It's going to be $100 game and a subscription service too.
I bet you got to play as a girl.
You do.
Yeah.
You have to play as a
guy
woman.
and a girl. It's like you play some Bonnie and Clyde shit. You play a couple, like how in 3 you were the 3 guys.
I'm glad this
it's
is finally coming out with people saying these things.
Can you sell your body as the girl? Just
that would be cool.
Yeah,
you're the girl. This time you're the hooker that you get.
True.
Yeah. To get your $5 back. So,
what do you guys do? Just drive around, do Uber Eats together?
Do Uber Eats and argue all day.
Wonderful.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So
yeah, no, I'm glad people are actually openly, all the people that just want to. I've tried to tell people since last year, once they implemented the trust and safety policy into Grand Theft Auto Online, and there was even other kind of little hits that I've seen to not trust GTA 6, but everybody keeps saying it's like, oh, that's just one little thing. It's just one little, and a couple months back, I was going to do this show. Unfortunately, some scheduling kind of things took place with it or whatever, and get around to it. But I was just going to like lay down like a dissertation on why GTA 6 is not the game that you want it to be. And you should probably actually like realize that if you're just going to go along with this, you have no room to complain about how they're fucking you, because you're not, actually going into these things with open eyes of discernment, and you're just kind of like letting like them, treat you like a consumer, So what if the branding of the name Grand Theft Auto, like it's not those guys, it's not the talent, skill, and ability. And then we've even seen the supposed talent, skill, and ability is just as fallible with this fucking mind's eye shit. So it's like, don't give, a couple weeks back, we were doing the series finale of Doctor Who, and I sent a link to someone that was going to be watching the show so they could be on the discussion, right? Something happened. I ended up sending the right episode number, but it was for the wrong season, right? And the person goes and they watch it. They take all these notes and they show up and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to talk about this today." And they're starting. I'm like, "Oh, that's not the right episode." And they're like, "You sent me the wrong link." I'm like, "Well, I do apologize, but it's kind of funny that you didn't know to tell me that I sent you the wrong link. Like, you just assumed I gave you. You didn't know the episode you were supposed to be watching. You just kind of took it at face value. Like, don't fucking trust me. To the people in the audience, like, I sit here, I'm giving you my perspective, my opinion, but you don't need to fucking trust me. I'm not your daddy. I'm not your pastor. I'm not, I'm trying to get you to think about this stuff, having a good conversation with Brian about things that we see and our takes on it, so that you can ultimately feel, that you have that exact same capability. But don't just trust either of us implicitly. That would be stupid. You know?
Of course not.
Right?
I mean, if you respect my opinion on something, I'll share it. But like you should definitely like figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Gabriel says in the chat, a few years ago, a Rockstar exec or dev was talking about how they couldn't make a new GTA in the current climate, mention pronouns and such. Well, maybe they found a way by including pronouns. But yeah, I agree. They probably couldn't do that. And you know what I think is probably where the industry is headed is there's going to be an attempt from the AAA studios to create a different class of game. Maybe they're going to rebrand it, call it premium or something like that. And GTA 6 will be one of those where it's like, this is like the only game you need. And they'll try to probably make games that do so many different things that there's no need to buy multiple games. You can just buy one that does it all or does a lot. I don't think it's going to work out, but that's what I suspect they're going to do with GTA 6, because the budget for that game and others that are probably like in the pipeline, that the studios can't back out of now because they've already put in so many years. I mean, that one we looked at, that Mind's Eye game, that was 7 years in development. That's the state that it's in right now.
Right.
The game was in development for 7 years, like a 200 and something man team, something crazy like that, right? Not a small team. So what I suspect is that will be that. But at the end of the day, it's like I've been saying, the AA industry is doing really well, and they're probably going to see more growth, and the indie space is doing really well too. So, I would say just don't worry about what the big guys are doing, and pay attention to like the smaller studios. And don't worry about your favorite franchises, because, unless the people behind them adapt to the changing, climate, and they don't fall into the trap of, doing what the big AAA studios are doing, they're probably going to end up killing themselves too. So, but okay. One last thing we're going to look at is the sales numbers for Stellar Blade, because I was going to come back to this. So Stellar Blade is breaking records on Steam, I guess.
Just 100,000 sales just I think 2 days ago. So to see it at another 40,000,
it's only been out for 2 days, right? So
I
it's
think it
already
made 100,000 in one day, and now we're seeing
coming up on 200,000 players. I mean, I don't know if it's too early to tell, but it may get like close to like Black Myth Wukong numbers when it initially launched. So, but yeah, Celebrate's doing really well, and again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's well optimized for PC, and the modding community is going to go nuts with this. So, it's good luck to Shift Up, and I hope you guys continue to create. I'm
playing through it right now with the English voices, and then what I'm gonna just play so that way I can kind of just play through without thinking too much. But what I can't wait for is gonna be my second playthrough when I start doing mods, and all the chicks are gonna be speaking like in Korean, or in all this kind of, and they'll just have subtitles and just be like this whole kind of thing. That's what it's gonna be for. And part of the internet lore about me right now is like John loves some Asian women, so I am absolutely enjoying this game.
There you go. It is a good time. Definitely peak Asian women in that. Okay, so we're gonna end the show there. It's right on time as far as I'm concerned. So this will work well. And Rumble Studios seemed to hold up pretty well. This test was basically a success. It worked out. There's some little kinks here, but I'll figure those out. Otherwise, it seems like it's good. Yeah, it's just like anything. But I know what I'm doing now. So, but yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, John. Just let people know where you're gonna be, where they can find you.
Yeah, of course. As I said earlier, I'll be doing a Will of the Fans channel tomorrow. We're doing part 2, the final epilogue of the 2 years of fucking insanity, 2+ years of this Disney contract that created their what we affectionately now call Who TF Cares. Of course, that'll start at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, and we're also there on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the same time for WTF Live. And then also tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, I'll be with Toasty, as I always am, doing a cosplay stream tomorrow. And then we are also at the same time on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays throughout the week. Tuesdays is Latina Candy. They're going to start alternating that show because it's her and Sonia Lisette. It's going to start being a thing where we'll do Latina Candy every other week on our channel, or on Toasty's channel rather, and then on the off weeks they're going to do gaming sessions together over on Sony's channel for Level Up Gaming on Tuesdays instead. And so yeah, I'm always there on those channels, and then on Fridays for Buck YouTube Friday, I'm a part of the Old White Road still for the reality-based channel that now exists exclusively here on Rumble. and that starts at what 3 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And yeah, and of course, here with you, coming up on a year. We got a couple more weeks before we get to our big anniversary. So everybody in the comments today, you know, thank you so much. I think this is probably the most active donation day we've had thus far. So it looks like, you know, like this change to Rumble and all this kind of stuff we've been doing.
Not bad for somebody who doesn't have tits.
That's right.
Not the kind of tits you guys want.
Exactly. Pretty soon we're gonna have to get a wheel in this bitch. But anyways, with that said, yeah, stay travels ahead. You all have a wonderful weekend going forward and be awesome as always.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of The Week in Culture, and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.